Hi, I'm Tony Beauvais. Welcome to this week's episode of Art V. On this program, we'll talk with Vivian Anderson from Vivian Anderson Gallery about what's going on at the gallery, as well as artist Victor Holder about his amazing projection art. But first, Jennifer Webb. Jennifer is well known for her Skyline series, revolving around the Melbourne city skylines and its inspirational water views. But the artist has a lot more to offer, including works with figures reflecting dance, friendship and dreamtime. Welcome, Jennifer. How are you going?
Hi, Tony. How are you going?
Great, thank you. From the young girl who did lots of drawing, moved into oil paints, did early stuff, you work with a lot of mixed media, acrylic,
I do.
watercolour, and also you do a bit of stuff on linen.
I use linen, canvas, UPO. In the last sort of 5 years or so, I've been enjoying working on UPO, which I always thought was a bit of a gimmick, really.
Right.
It's a synthetic watercolour paper, but I don't like works behind glass. I don't like that barrier between the viewer and the art, even though I know how to frame. I make frames for people and for myself. I'm not a big fan of, so I've found ways of laminating and building up layers that are perfectly well adhered to the UPO, and it's a fantastic substrate that you can gallery wrap like a canvas, or you can mount it, dry mount it on board. So you get beautiful marks like you do with watercolour. I started soon after oils. I started to play with watercolours. It wasn't until Brazil that I started using acrylics, and acrylics have come a long way since then too. There's beautiful, very good quality products now. So most of my works, my Skyline series, made up with acrylics, layers of transparent and opaque, and some metallics and iridescence sometimes. And the ocean paintings are, watercolour, transparent acrylics, and layers of varnishes on the UPO. But even if I work on canvas, I still do many layers of varnish.
How have you managed? What have you done through the last 6 months to keep things moving along?
Quite irritating and frustrating because I don't do openings. I don't have large crowds of people swanning through, sharing their germs. But nonetheless, I did the right thing. I closed. And what I've done throughout that time is make appointments with people do most of their browsing on the websites, and then they can come for contactless solo browsing just by appointment and collect it that way. And if people want me to make them a floating frame or something for their work, I do that on my own. I used to have another studio doing that for me, but they closed completely during COVID. What I got into a lot more during COVID was my classes, because I started working with Zoom. I've not worked with Zoom before, and a number of my students said no. They thought it would be a couple of months of lockdown, actually. So they said no. We'll wait till it comes back to the studios because we really need you there with us, But the ones who said no, we'll give it a go, have actually really, really flourished. It's been going very well. This is actually where I'm sitting now, is pretty much where I run them from, and that has kept me sane because that's been my social contact. I lived with two millennials. It's like living on your own, and I couldn't have a bubble buddy. So a couple of wines and art classes through Zoom has been fantastic, and all of my students have become more independent because I'm not there to spoon feed them and demonstrate over and over again. So, and I'm very, very, very slick in Photoshop, so I've been able to pinpoint all their feedback. So instead of coming to the easel and giving them the feedback, we're doing it this way. They send me progress shots. And so that's kept me sane. In the beginning, I said, I'm not going to paint. I'm just going to wait for this to be over. I was quite sad, and I couldn't stop it, though. I couldn't help myself. I went, and the first thing I painted was a massive tsunami. Because I wanted to remind myself and my children that our house has not been washed away by a tsunami. Our life hasn't been destroyed completely. The next thing I painted was a bushfire, because I'd had friends in Queensland who'd just gone through, all of their friends had their lives destroyed by that. So I wanted to put COVID into perspective for myself. Massive bushfire. It was fun to paint too, beautiful. But it was just to remind me, keep on going. This will end, no matter if it ends this year or next year. Just do the best you can during this time. And, I qualified, of course, for JobKeeper, and I've just been laying low. I go there by appointment when I've needed to.
Yeah.
And I started a building project in that time. It was on the plans before COVID, and
Yeah.
I've had hold-ups because of COVID, but I've got a whole purpose-built studios and viewing room coming up on my property. It's only
Great.
45 seconds from the gallery, Port Art,
Yeah.
where I have been for 15 years.
Yes.
So I'm really, really looking forward to that being finished before Christmas, and then operations will move around the corner. And one good thing that's come out of COVID is I will now see people by appointment. So I'm
Yeah.
not locked in to that 6 days a week retail hours
Yeah.
that I was before. Always people coming and going. And so in my headspace as an artist, that was very difficult to get around. I was wearing a lot of hats there. So
Yeah.
this new place will mean I'm now free to travel, to go interstate and overseas. I've got, I'd love to go to Prague and to Milan and do some more City Skyline series. I've got a Brisbane series, which is with another gallery, Red Hill Gallery up there in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get a Perth gallery and do Perth series. And so I want to be free to do that. So having this business that'll be by appointment means that while I'm away, perhaps someone else will be able to run that, but I won't be beholden to those hours anymore. It'll be free me up as an artist.
Well, it sounds like you've used the time throughout the COVID and been locked in the lockdown very wisely, productively, and moving forward. So, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us and having a chat today.
Thank you, Tony.
Good
Yeah,
on you.
thanks very much.
For your time.
Nice talking with you, Tony.
Victor Holder is a multidisciplinary artist with a focus on inspiring environmental and social awareness for the community. He has extensive experience in producing interactive installations, public art, animations, sculptures, and large painted works. His work has taken him from his native Venezuela to projects in Europe, Cambodia, Malaysia, Central America, the USA, and Melbourne. Welcome to the program, Victor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for welcoming.
Oh, it's great to have you in. Now, speaking of your latest production, because you've directed and produced heaps of stuff.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Voice of the Earth, because I think we've got a clip that will pop into the program probably after this segment or a part of.
Yeah.
Tell us all about that.
Well, Voice of the Earth it's my recent project, and I'm so proud of it. I never say that. I'm proud of myself, but this one really, because it's like Voice of the Earth is virtual reality experience through a headset.
Yeah.
And where is the origin of this? How this happened? Well, I actually made the first version of Voice of the Earth was a projection commissioned by City of Port Phillip Council.
Yeah.
It was opposite to the Four Divers in the St. Kilda Town Gardens.
Yeah.
There's a huge tree there. It's ancient tree, maybe 300 years old. Mm-hmm. It's called Toromeo tree, where indigenous used to have corroboree in that place. This tree is actually, it cannot be, we say it's protected because it's indigenous heritage. So anyway, I have a strong connection with that tree. Originally, I want to create a dome to have an experience about the spirit of nature, the spirit of the earth.
Yeah.
And raising up environmental awareness and also indigenous awareness.
Yeah.
So I applied for a grant, I didn't get it, but the same council suggests me, why you not do a projection in that tree that you love so much? I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. I talked to my friend Simon in that time,
Yeah.
and I was very supported by him and Kerry as well.
Yeah.
Actually, they really supported me into this project.
Yeah.
It was a massive experience through the All Amero Festival. So and then I did my experiments. Everything for me is an experiment. I don't know how it's going to work, but
Yeah.
luckily everything has working perfectly. Voice of the Earth was a projection in this tree, and everyone loved it, and was very emotional a piece. Everyone was laughing, crying, everything got lots of reaction. So I'm a public artist. That's what I do, and
Yeah.
and then I did it. Supposed to be one day. I did it for 3 weekends consecutive, and we stayed overnight.
Yeah.
All the locals people was, what is this? I feel like
Yeah.
I'm dreaming alive. And
Yeah. What's going on?
so anyway, the animation is based on my experience with indigenous and how they see nature.
Yeah.
I met some indigenous in that trip, Planet Asia. I met indigenous in the
Yeah.
Amazon and other countries,
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
in Malaysia and Indonesia. So here as well. And so I'm really immersed, investigating, researching about original paintings from here and overseas, from the Inca, the Mayans.
Sure. Yeah.
So there is so many similarities. The respect for nature, the spirit of nature in this culture. I feel myself, indigenous myself, through this work. You know, I think we all are in this world, but you know. So, however, and then I plan to do this projection again, more big, more trees, like not just
Sure.
once, you know, many,
Yep.
in the Alexander Garden, opposite to the art center in the city.
Okay.
So I actually applied for a festival that was canceled
Right.
because the coronavirus lockdown. So
Yep.
the city of Mirror commissioned it, like whoever got affected by this
Yep.
situation, we're giving a grant to do it online.
Yeah.
So I said, well, how can I do this? And I didn't have no idea. I said, oh, wow, maybe I can film everything in 360 degree,
Yeah.
bring in my computer, and make all my animation all around this 360 for YouTube. My original plan was you can get a mouse and explore what's happening, this dream around, or
Yeah.
with a finger in your phone,
Sure.
or looking at that.
Yeah.
Well, this is a miracle because I
Yeah.
finished,
Yeah.
and when I finished that day, I went to see my friends, and I said, look at what I did before I launched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look what I did. I said, wow, that's great, Victor.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I have a Samsung a headset that came from free with my phone. Do you want to try? Does it make work? Because YouTube have a little spectacle. You press that, and
Yeah.
the animation get divided in two screens, and you put it here, exactly like that, you know?
Yeah.
And you experience, you know?
Unreal.
And you headphones. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Imagine me putting this thing. I didn't know that's the outcome.
Yeah.
And completely transporting to Alexander Garden.
Oh, fantastic.
The moon is there, the stars, and all this animation around me.
It is so innovative.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. I had a look at Voice of the Earth earlier, and it's sensational work, really.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Victor, thanks for coming in. Thanks so much for your time today, and all the very best for the future. We'll catch up with you next year.
Thank you.
Good on you.
No,
Thank you,
thanks.
mate.
Hola, mi gente. How are you guys coping in this isolation situation? I hope you're okay. I'm sending you some good creative vibe from my cave studio. Finally, I just finished my new public art project online, Voice of the Earth 360 VR experience, which I developed during this long lockdown while I was facing some emotional challenges. I was able to create this new VR piece with the general support of City of Melbourne COVID-19 art grants. So thank you so much, City of Melbourne, and all the talented collaborators in this piece. This time I used Alexander Gardens location, which is opposite to the art center in Melbourne CBD. You can enjoy Voice of the Earth in 3 different formats. In your computer screen, by moving and exploring the 360 animation with your mouse on your phone by either moving around your hand or with your finger touching the phone screen.
It's so amazing. It's like a dream.
And don't forget to use the headphone to listen to the sound much better and deeper. The best immersive experience with Voice of the Earth will be using the headset where you insert your phone.
Wow. It's
Waterfall, beautiful.
That was unbelievable. I'm shocked.
If you don't have one of these pictorial headset, maybe as a friend if they have one, you can borrow it. But also you can buy it cheap online between $10 to $40 Australian dollar. I really recommend it. Find Voice of the Earth on my website below, and you can view it for free in a YouTube SD, or you can download high definition by giving a small contribution towards my art. Please leave me your feedback, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. Enjoy Voice of the Earth.
The Vivian Anderson Gallery believes the power of art is to create inspired revelations, insight and profound understanding of the stories of the Indigenous people and their culture. Over the last 3 decades, Vivian has managed and directed several acclaimed contemporary mainstream art galleries in Sydney and Melbourne, each with an emphasis on equal representation of Australian Indigenous artists. Vivian joins us now. Hi Vivian, great to see you.
How are you?
Now, you've worked with international museums as well, haven't you?
Yes, well, they're very discreet. We often find that they don't, that some of them are private individuals who have their own private museums, and they collect international art, and they often come out to Australia, and we'll be dealing with them once or twice a year, but they're usually fairly substantial customers in that time frame. We've tried to work with international museums in the States. That's been a very slow progress, I think, ultimately because they have a different funding model. They don't get government funding. They're mostly funded from private individuals and bequests. And a lot of what is attached to those, the criteria for those bequests, is a certain collection that they have in mind. And to penetrate with something new is often quite difficult.
Sure. I have noticed also that you've got a biannual event which is held overseas. Can you tell us all about that? Because that one sounds really, really interesting from the cultures involved. So.
Yeah, it is. We started investigating that. I have a very good friend who lives in Santa Fe in New Mexico, which has a very large Indigenous or Native American population. It's also surrounded by many Native American nations, and to a large extent it's considered to be the soul of Native America. And he invited me to come over and meet some of the commercial gallery directors there, which we did in 2008. By 2010 we had an association or an alliance with Chiaroscuro Gallery, a very beautiful gallery owned by some extraordinary art patrons from Europe. And it was an architectural masterpiece, an Adobe masterpiece. They have already in their stable and quite a few Native American artists, so they thought it was a good fit. It was very much a contemporary edge, so we put together a biannual exhibition and we took artists over. It was a wonderful experience for the artists as well, because there was such excitement and symbiosis between the two cultures, and the things that they were sharing, they found they were so unique. But it was also very important that they were bringing it to America. America is obviously featured largely in all our imaginations for the last 200 years. So it was important for them to physically have an opportunity to present in that market, which was very successful, but it's a drop in the ocean. And Santa Fe is the second largest art market in America.
Well, it's certainly a diverse change for, well, let's say 1999, 2000, you were involved with, I think it was the Australian fine art auctions, but you were involved with the auctions which raised over $2 million worth back then.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that all about then? In that timing, the 1999, 2000.
That was well, I was working with Deutsche Menzies Auction House at the time, and they had wanted to develop an Indigenous art department. So in 1999, I presented the first auction, which was presented at the same time as the well-established Sotheby's Indigenous Art Sale.
Yep.
And then again in 2000 we went again, but the offering was over $3 million worth. It was very exciting times in terms of the art market, because there were a lot of, you'd probably say there were a lot of speculators, people who were moving across to Indigenous art because they felt that there was an investment opportunity there. It was it very much it was an exhausting exercise in many ways. I'm working with an auction house because the pace is extraordinary. You literally get hammered every day. But it was exciting, and we got to tour the exhibition initially in 1999 up to Sydney. We were ambitious to take it internationally, but I travelled around the world with the catalogue anyway to see most of the museum and the international collectors prior to the auction.
During the COVID period, you've spent some time working on your website. You've been quite active there from what I saw.
Well, we kind of worked out very quickly that was critical to stay in touch with everybody, especially our subscribers and the artists. So we investigated virtual tours. That's been really interesting. We're going to keep that going because I think it presents very well. Also sort of doing a lot of work on the back end of the website to make sure it's a rich experience for people who are going to spend the time to go and look for things. That we are also providing critical information like prices, because in the past that's always been quite discreet, but I think during COVID people wanted to have the information at hand. So that was pretty important too. And sending out regular sort of what we called home delivery on a weekly basis, which was a more in-depth interview or story about individual artists that we represent and body of work that they've produced, and what's the rationale behind their work, what motivates them, what's their inspiration. It's been really successful. It's been great. So I don't think we're going to drop any of that. We're going to maintain it. We've got a beautiful exhibition on at the moment, Naomi Hobson. First exhibition here at the gallery. She's from Cohen and Cape York, very accomplished. She's been painting for 13 years. She's a photographer, a ceramic artist as well. And then we have a beautiful exhibition of paintings by Dino Wilson. Yeah.
Well, and hopefully, actually got to research this one. Now that the COVID restrictions have been lifted as of basically today and relaxed to a degree more, what's the ruling? Art galleries, how many people can you have?
We can have 10 people in the space at the moment. We're going to have staggered openings. So we'll have 1 hour periods where people can sort of RSVP to come in at that time. I think we can have 20 in the space, including staff.
So thank you so much for your time today, and good on you for always, representing the Indigenous artists of this country, and obviously with the Native Americans and the influence of your overseas interaction and association, even better. So thanks so much, Vivian. Good on you.
All righty. All the best.
See you later. Thanks. That's all for this week. If you would like to contact us, you can send us an email at ideas@studioemedia.com.au. Thanks for watching. See you next time.